Have you ever just, looked up and watched a kite? How it dances up there?
Yeah, it's captivating, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Simple joy, you think. But there's this whole world behind it. History, amazing skill, even like really deep meanings. Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This is where we dive into topics you're curious about using the great articles and sources you, our listeners, send in.
And today, it's all about kites.
Exactly. Thanks to your contributions, we've got a fantastic collection looking into the art, the culture, the fighting, the whole thing. Think of the All Sorts podcast as, well, your guide soaring through all sorts of fascinating stuff.
A good analogy for today.
Right. And hey, if you enjoy these journeys, please do become part of our community. Like, share this deep dive, subscribe on YouTube. Honestly, it helps us keep flying.
And there's a whole sky full of past deep dives waiting there, too.
Totally. Plus, you can follow us on X, Instagram, and Threads. Keep up with everything, all sorts.
So kites. We're looking at everything from their ancient beginnings, the absolute thrill of kite fighting.
Yeah.
And even how they pop up as symbols in places like literature. It's quite a range.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning then. Where did these things first even take flight?
Good question. And, well, there are sort of whispers, maybe in Melanesia, Polynesia, very early on. But the strongest evidence, it really points towards China.
China. Makes sense. So many inventions came from there. Any idea how long ago? Like, roughly?
We actually have a pretty specific date for the first written account, 206 BC.
Wow, 206 BC. What was the story?
Well, there was this figure, Hyun Sang. Apparently, he used a kite to kind of spook an enemy army.
No way. Using a kite for military tactics right from the start.
Seems like it. Shows that early ingenuity, right? Using something that flies for, well, strategic advantage.
That's incredible. Okay, so beyond scaring enemies, what else were they doing with kites back then in ancient China?
Oh, they got quite clever. By around 169 BC, so Han Dynasty time, the military was using them in really practical ways.
Like what?
There's a famous story about General Han Xin. He apparently used a kite to measure the distance his troops needed to tunnel under a city wall.
Tunneling? How'd they manage that with a kite?
Well, by gauging the length of the string let out when the kite was directly over the target, presumably. It's pretty clever thinking for the time, long before, modern tech.
That is seriously impressive. Okay, so it starts in China, used for military stuff. How does it get out to the rest of the world?
The most likely route, it seems, is along the Silk Road. Buddhist missionaries traveling eastwards probably carried the idea, the technology, with them, first into the Indian subcontinent.
Ah, India. So it lands there. And did it catch on?
Oh, absolutely. It seems like it really took root in Indian culture. We start seeing mentions in their literature.
Really? How early are we talking?
Well, the earliest definite accounts we have are from the 13th century. A Marathi poet, Namadeva.
13th century. Wow. What did he call it?
He called it a gudi. And he even mentioned it was made of kagad.
Kagad.
Exactly. Paper. So paper kites back in the 13th century. It shows how long it's been part of the fabric there.
That's a fantastic detail. And the mentions kept coming after that.
They did. Fast forward to the 16th century, you've got other Marathi poets like Dasapant and Ekanath talking about vavadi, another word for kite, in their songs. And it wasn't just one area. Over in the Awadh region, the Hindi poet Bihari was writing about them too. So clearly, kites were capturing imaginations across India.
It really sounds like it, across different regions, different languages.
Yep, and even into the 17th century, the famous epic Ramkaratramanas by Tulsidas, it mentions kites. He calls them chag.
Chag. Okay.
And there's this great little anecdote in there about Hanuman, the monkey god.
Yeah.
Apparently, Rama's kite flew away, like all the way to the heavens, Indralok, and Hanuman had to go retrieve it.
A divine kite rescue mission. That's brilliant.
Isn't it? And some researchers, like Nikita Desai, even suggest the connection might go back further.
Further than the 13th century.
Yeah, potentially. She mentions possible references in huge texts, like the Ramayana and even the Vedas. So pinpointing the exact origin is tricky, but kites in India, they go way, way back.
Okay, so kites arrive, they become beloved, part of the culture, part of poetry. But then, under the Mughals, things shifted again, right?
Yeah.
It became more of a sport.
Precisely. During the Mughal era, kite flying really transformed. It became like a proper sport, especially for the nobility.
Ah, the upper classes got into it.
Big time. And as it got more popular, people started getting clever with the designs, making them fly better, improving the aerodynamics for more control.
And we actually have pictures of this.
We do. Mogul paintings, those beautiful miniatures, they often show people, men and women, actually flying kites. Gives you a real glimpse.
That's fantastic. And I read something about kites being linked to specific events, too, like celebrating a ruler's return.
Yes. A great example is Jahangir's return to Delhi in 1812. He'd been away, and when he came back, apparently the whole city flew kites to welcome him. And his mother offered a ceremonial cloth, a chadar. That whole event is still remembered today as Phul Walon Ki Ser, the festival of flower sellers.
Flowers and kites filling the sky. Lovely image. And the fascination just kept growing, didn't it, into the 18th century?
It did. There's an account from Maulana Abu Halim Sharar about Lucknow during King Shah Alam's first time. He said kite flying really took off then. He mentions these things called dukals. They were sort of like Chinese lanterns, apparently early fighting kites. And then the word patang started being used for the really good ones, the best for fighting.
Patang. Okay, so that's the word for the serious fighting kites. And even after the Mughals, the traditions stuck around.
Absolutely. It didn't fade away. It became a really important seasonal thing tied to big festivals like Uttarayan or Makar Sankranti.
Right.
And in Punjab, you see it huge during Basant Panchami and Baisakhi. It just got woven into the calendar.
It's amazing how these things last. And then, kind of surprisingly, kites even got involved in the independence movement.
Yeah, that's a fascinating twist. There are stories, right, that during the Simon Commission protests, people flew hundreds of kites with "Go Back Simon" written on them.
Really? Using kites as protest signs?
Kind of. A kite soaring free. Maybe it became a symbol for freedom, for resistance. It's a powerful image.
It really is. And maybe that's why flying kites on Independence Day itself became a thing, August 15th.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. You still see it today, especially in Old Delhi, Shahjahanabad. Rooftops packed with people, kids, adults, just filling the sky with color to celebrate.
From protest to pure celebration, the kite carries a lot of weight. And speaking of passion, Gujarat seems like the place for kites in India.
Oh, absolutely. Gujarat is kite central. You hear that cry, "Kai poche," echoing everywhere during the season.
What does that mean again?
I have cut the kite. It's the victory cry in Gujarati. Their passion is so deep, they even have a dedicated kite museum in Ahmedabad.
A whole museum, just for kites. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the Patang Kite Museum. It was the vision of a guy named Banu Shah. It's amazing, showcases the history, the art. He collected kites, paintings, even got stuff from the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. It's unique.
Wow, pulling from international collections, too. That's dedication.
Yeah.
And Gujarat hosts that big international festival, too, right?
Yep. Since 1989, the state government has run the International Kite Festival. It's huge. People come from all over the world, fly these incredible kites. It's thousands of them in the sky, a real spectacle.
That's incredible. Okay,
Yeah.
History, culture, festivals. Let's get into the competition. Kite fighting.
Yeah.
It's big across Asia, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's a serious sport and a beloved pastime in loads of countries. Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Thailand, Korea, Afghanistan. They all have strong traditions. And often, their own unique styles and rules.
And these aren't just any kites, right?
Yeah.
Fighter kites are built differently.
Exactly. They're designed to be super lightweight, usually thin paper, flexible bamboo for the spars. Though, in some modern contexts, like maybe American kite fighting, you might see synthetics like nylon or polyester for the sail, maybe fiberglass or carbon fiber spars. More about performance and durability there.
Makes sense. Lightweight, maneuverable, essential for fighting. So how does the fight actually work? What's the main goal?
Simple, really. Cut your opponent's line. That's the core of it.
Okay.
It can be one-on-one or a big melee with lots of kites. The winner is usually the last one flying. Or sometimes people try to capture the kite that's been cut loose.
Capture it. How?
Well, we'll get to the kite runners later, but sometimes skilled flyers can actually snag the falling line with their own.
Oh, okay. And you mentioned the kite's instability is actually key.
Yeah, that's part of the design and skill. They're often meant to be a bit unstable. The flyer uses tiny changes in line tension to make them spin, dive, turn quickly. Crucial for outmaneuvering the other guy.
A real art. But I've heard the lines themselves are special and maybe a bit dangerous.
Definitely. The traditional fighting line, especially in Asia, is called manja. Right. It's usually cotton or hemp line, but it's coated. coated with a mix of finely crushed glass and rice glue.
Crushed glass.
Yeah. It makes the line incredibly abrasive, basically turns it into a cutting tool to sever the other kite lines. Modern versions might use synthetic lines, stronger glues, stronger abrasives. And yeah, alarmingly, there have even been reports in some places of people using metallic lines or even attaching tiny metal knives, which is just incredibly dangerous.
Metal knives on a kite line. That's terrifying.
It really is. Historically, people would spend ages preparing their lines, layering on the paste to make them tough and sharp. In more formal competitions, like line touch events, they might use special low-stretch synthetic fishing line.
And the names for this line vary everywhere, right?
Oh, yeah. Tons of names. Cerol in Brazil, tar in Afghanistan. In South Asia, you hear mancha, manjo, door, pinch. And of course, that victory cry in Gujarat, kai poche, is linked to the cutting.
Like a whole secret vocabulary just for the line?
Pretty much. And controlling the kite itself, it's not just holding the string. The bridle, the strings connecting the line to the kite frame, that needs careful tuning. Tiny adjustments to where the line attaches, the lengths of the bridle legs, even how the weight is balanced. It all affects how the kite spins, tracks, dives. Mastering that is key.
So much finesse involved. I also read something about burning holes in kites in India. Seems weird.
It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But it's actually a smart trick.
How so?
If the wind is really strong, like too strong for these super light kites, burning small strategic holes reduces the surface area a bit. Less wind pressure means it's easier to control, less likely to get ripped apart, just adapting to the conditions.
Clever. Yep. Okay, so lines are sharp, kites are tuned. What happens when two lines actually cross? What are the techniques for cutting?
Two main ways, generally. Release cutting and pull cutting.
Okay.
Release cutting, lines cross, and both flyers let out line. The idea is the sharper line will saw through the other as they drift. Pull cutting, that's more aggressive. Lines cross, and you give a sharp, quick pull, using the tension in the abrasive line to slice through the opponent's line fast, like a quick strike.
Sounds intense. So what makes the difference between winning and losing? Is it just the line?
Oh, it's way more than that. Skill is huge. Reading the wind, anticipating your opponent, maneuvering your kite just right. That's number one. But then, the kite itself matters. Its speed, agility. The line quality is critical, sharp, strong. The spool you use can make a difference, even where the lines first touch, and obviously the wind on the day. It's a whole mix.
A complex dance of skill, gear, and luck with the wind. And what about those kites that get cut? You mentioned kite runners.
Yeah, that's often a big part of the scene on the ground. Usually kids, really fast and agile. They'll chase after the falling kites, trying to grab them before they hit the ground or get snagged. It's a prize.
Sounds like chaos, but fun chaos. And are these fights usually just informal things, or are there organized events too?
Both, definitely. Lots of it is just neighborhood fun. But yeah, organized competitions exist. Like Red Bull has run a kite fight event in India.
Okay.
And in the U.S., the American Kite Flyers Association, the AKA, they have rules for fighter kite competitions too. So it's becoming more formalized in some places.
Interesting. And the styles really vary country by country, don't they? You mentioned that earlier.
Hugely. Like Nepal has Changache during their big festivals, Dashain and Tihar. Afghanistan's Gudipar-Bazi, which tragically got banned by the Taliban for a time. Its status now is maybe uncertain again.
Right.
Bangladesh has the Chakreen Festival, lots of fighting. Brazil's Pipa is massive, but those safety issues with the sharp lines are a real concern there.
Yeah, definitely.
The Caribbean, you sometimes hear about hexagonal kites with razor blades on the tails.
Razor blades, seriously.
Yeah, incredibly dangerous. Chile has volantine fighting, using a special 3-thread bridle for amazing control. Japan's different, again, big team kite fights like Nagasaki Hara, where they try to force kites down, not cut lines. Or the Rokaku battles.
Forcing down, not cutting. Interesting.
Korea uses a traditional rectangular kite, the Bangpae Yeon. Pakistan, especially Lahore during the Basant Festival, is world famous for its kite fighting, just skies full of them. Though again, safety concerns have led to bans there too, sadly.
It seems safety is a recurring issue with the fighting aspect.
It is, and even in the U.S., you see competitions influenced by all these different traditions, often organized by groups like the AKA. It's a global thing, but with very local flavors.
A truly global phenomena.
Okay.
Have all this talk of sharp lines, fighting. It feels crucial. We talk safety precautions for just general kite flying, too.
Absolutely essential. Number one, stay away from people, roads, traffic. You don't want a kite diving down unexpectedly near cars or pedestrians.
Right. Common sense, but important.
And absolutely critical, power lines, never fly near them, or electrical signs, aerials, airports. The risk of electrocution, especially if the line is damp, is very real. And obviously, interference with planes near airports, just avoid.
Definitely avoid. What about weather?
Check the wind recommendations for your kite. Don't fly in winds that are too strong. You lose control, the kite could break, someone could get hurt. And never, ever fly in stormy weather. Lightning plus wet kite line, it's a disaster.
Got it. Anything else?
Gloves are a good idea if you're flying a big kite that pulls hard, saves your hands. And always supervise kids closely when they're flying.
Makes sense.
What?
And what if your kite gets stuck? Up a tree? On a pole?
Best advice.
Yeah.
Leave it. Seriously.
Yeah.
Don't risk climbing. Don't risk getting near power lines to retrieve it. It's just not worth the danger. A new kite is cheaper than a hospital visit.
Good point. Safety first.
And just watch where you're running. Look
Yeah.
out for rocks, holes, uneven ground when you're focused on the sky.
Right. And beyond personal safety, there are environmental things to think about, too.
Yes, definitely. Those kite lines, especially the sharp manja used for fighting, if they get left behind tangled in trees, they can be there for ages. It's not just ugly, it's really dangerous for wildlife. Birds can fly into them, get terribly injured, cut muscles, even bones. Stray animals on the ground can get tangled too.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about that aspect so much.
Yeah, so it's really important to be responsible. Clean up after yourself, dispose of lines properly. Part of enjoying the hobby is protecting the environment around it.
A really crucial reminder. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked history, sport. Let's explore the deeper meaning. Kites as symbols. And The Kite Runner feels like the perfect place to start.
It really is. That book and the film, too, use the kite in such a powerful, symbolic way. It's not just a kite. It represents so much more.
Like what, specifically?
Well, it touches on social background, definitely those intense interpersonal relationships, and even broader ideas about, humanity itself. It shows how an everyday object can just carry so much weight.
Okay, let's break that down. Starting with the social background in Afghanistan in this story. How do kites fit in there?
Well, as the story portrays it, kite fighting in Afghanistan was this huge tradition, a source of joy, excitement, community. Especially for boys, it was like a rite of passage. Winning meant courage, honor, skill. And this is all happening against that backdrop of turmoil, the Soviet invasion, then the Taliban.
Right. And the Taliban banned kites, didn't they?
They did. And that act itself becomes hugely symbolic in the story, banning this joyful, traditional activity. It represented the suppression of freedom, of culture, of that very spirit the kites embodied.
Wow. So a simple ban speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Now, what about the relationships? Amir and his father, that's a complicated one.
Very complicated. And the kite, it's described as this thin-as-paper connection between them. Amir is desperate for his father's approval, right?
Yeah.
And that kite fighting tournament becomes his chance. Winning it is everything. And when he does win, there's that brief, powerful moment of connection with his father. The kite makes it happen.
So the kite is like the key to unlocking that relationship, even if just for a moment. And then the huge relationship, Amir and Hassan.
Kites are central there, too, from the very beginning. Flying kites together is their shared childhood joy, their bond. But then that same kite tournament, it's the turning point. It leads directly to Amir's terrible act of betrayal, driven by his jealousy and cowardice.
So the kite is tied to both the bond and the breaking of it.
Exactly. And even after everything, the image of the kite keeps coming back. It symbolizes that broken bond, Amir's guilt, everything he lost.
Heavy stuff. And on a bigger level, what about humanity? What does the kite say there?
It really draws that stark contrast, doesn't it, between Amir's initial fear and moral failure and Hassan's incredible loyalty and bravery.
Hassan's loyalty is just immense.
It is, and it's symbolized so powerfully by his kite running, that famous line.
For you 1,000 times over.
Exactly. He runs the kites for Amir no matter what. And ultimately, he tragically defends Amir's winning kite, which costs him dearly. His actions, centered around the kite, just scream loyalty, sacrifice, basic human goodness.
That line really sticks with you. So
Yeah.
how does the kite play into Amir's eventual attempt at redemption?
Well, he's haunted by what happened, haunted by Hassan, haunted by that kite. It's remembering all of that, the kite included, that pushes him towards trying to make things right. Going back to Afghanistan, rescuing Sohrab, Hassan's son. And then right near the end, what do?
They fly a kite together.
Right. That act of flying the kite again, this time with Sohrab, It's hugely symbolic. It's Amir facing his past, trying to find forgiveness, trying to reconnect with his own lost humanity, chasing that kite at the end. It feels like he's chasing goodness itself.
Wow. So it really comes full circle. The kite is there at the betrayal, and it's there at the attempt at redemption.
Precisely. It just shows how something seemingly simple, a kite, can be loaded with so much meaning, personal, cultural, symbolic, especially within a story like that. It explores the absolute depths of human experience.
It's truly amazing, isn't it, how this object, the kite, stretches from ancient China through Mughal courts, becomes this symbol of freedom in India, evolves into this thrilling, sometimes dangerous sport across the globe with all its specific rules and techniques, and then resonates so deeply as a symbol in literature like the kite runner. It's so much more than just, paper and string on the wind.
Absolutely. It's history, it's culture, it's sport, it's art, it's symbol, all wrapped up in one.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what's the kite you're chasing in your own life?
That's a great way to put it.
Is it like a dream you're reaching for? Trying to mend something, like a mirror? Or just trying to grab onto a moment of pure joy?
Yeah, and maybe the point isn't always catching it perfectly, but the act of chasing it, giving it your all, keeping it flying against the odds, even when you're not quite sure where the wind will take it, there's meaning in that pursuit.
Beautifully put. And speaking of soaring,
Yeah.
think of the All Sorts podcast like that. A vibrant kite catching the breeze of curiosity, lifting your understanding with every deep dive we share.
We try.
Yeah, just like a kite needs the wind. Well, we rely on you, our listeners, to keep us flying high. Your support is what keeps these explorations going.
It really is.
So if you enjoyed this journey into the world of kites, if you value these kinds of stories and shared knowledge, please be the wind beneath our wings.
Nicely tied in.
Thanks. Seriously, though, please like this deep dive, share it with someone who'd find it fascinating, and definitely subscribe to the All Sorts podcast on YouTube. You won't miss any future flights of discovery.
And remember that back catalog, loads of other deep dives, other kites exploring different corners of the world.
Exactly. Check them out. And follow us on X, Instagram, and Threads, too. Stay connected. Be a part of the All Sorts community. Your clicks, your shares, your listens, that's the string that keeps us aloft, letting us craft more for you.
So thank you, truly, for being part of the All Sorts podcast family.